It's a really good question. I'm sort of having a moment of panic. Um, Look, what I can give you an example. I can tell you a little bit of a story about a project that we're doing at the moment that for me I'm really excited about, and it's a project we've set up at the Addison Road Community Centre in Sydney. Now, Addie Road deals primarily with food insecurity. So they're this amazing charity on site. They have 40 different social services. So they have a food pantry where people who need discounted or free groceries can access the food pantry. There's legal services, there's domestic violence charities, there's all sorts of incredible social services. Now we've now set up a gym or a not gym at Addie Road that we called Addie Moves. Um, Now, Dr. Grace McEwen led some brilliant co-design work over a 12-month period with refugees and asylum seekers. So these are people who have been exposed to, potentially very traumatizing experiences, including forced displacement, as well as refugee services. And we're interviewing them about what do we need to create an exercise service that would support these people. And what Grace was able to put all that down into was six key sort of themes. And for me, it's those themes that actually, if we think about how do we create supportive exercise services, that this sort of covers it. And I know your question was about depression, but I think it's not actually diagnosis specific. I would say it's how do we support anyone, but particularly those that might be experiencing additional barriers or additional stresses. So again, and I've mentioned it, but the idea of safety, so cultural safety, psychological safety is absolutely critical. Now, a practical example of that is, does the exercise workforce that we're talking about, do they have any training in mental health skills? Do they have mental health first aid training? Do they have any additional training in actually how do you engage and talk to someone? How do you identify signs of distress and what to do? Do you know how to refer someone? Um, when you're promoting activity and working with that client, are you actually considering the unique experiences? Whether it's we talk as well about the social determinants of health, so the conditions in which people are born, live, work, play. That has a big impact. Are we just telling people go to this really expensive gym that you can't afford and you don't want to go to anyway? So that's a key factor. Another one is accessibility. It has to be accessible. Now, if cost is a barrier, we need to remove that. So we've made sure that the service we're providing is free. Now, that's obviously not possible for everyone to provide free services, but if we think about the health service, if we're trying to create something that actually supports people and cost is a barrier, then that needs to be addressed. And some other ones there around physical activity literacy. If we're talking about working with communities or people, as you mentioned, that are experiencing symptoms, have we actually taken the time to explain why and the benefits, or if we just assume that people know and they want to engage? And that also comes back to some of the work you mentioned before around autonomous motivation,
Yeah.
self-determination. And we know that one of the biggest predictors of exercise behavior long term is that people are doing it because they understand and value the benefits for themselves. They truly believe it. And I think your listeners will probably, people will resonate with that because those that work in that area or participate in activity,
Yeah.
they're going to be naturally autonomously motivated towards that. But not everyone is. So understanding that and thinking, how do we shift people?
Yeah.
And another way of doing that is probably not putting them on the scale the first time they walk through the
Yeah.
door when they're already anxious, nervous, don't want to be there, unsure why they're there. Um, and a couple of the other points were around social connection, and we know that's absolutely critical. So providing a space where people can connect and um, particularly with others that have similar experiences. Um, and the final one was around accessing, so support to access basic needs. So if we think about the service we've set up at Addie, We might have people come through that are having issues with, it could be the legal system, it could be with food security. But how do we make sure that our exercise practitioners know how to refer people to those other services and how to link in with those other services and when to refer? So that's a long-winded answer to that question, but I think that there's a lot of factors that we can do there as, if we think about as exercise practitioners,
Yeah.
to create a safer, more accessible, better service.